Kristina Behr. On today's show, we'll learn more about the Russ Berry Making a Difference Award.
We'll also give you some insight on the minimum wage increase and what it could mean for New Jersey businesses. Well, it was a wet night last night, but improvements are on the way. Let's check that Friday forecast.
Yeah, the high today will be 55 degrees and things will continue to dry out as those rain showers continue to pull further away from the region. That's good news since the temperatures will range from the middle 20s to the lower 30s tonight.
And since the ground will have plenty of time to dry out, we're not concerned about icy conditions. In fact, temperatures will get warmer again next week with just a couple of rain chances in the forecast. Details on that in the 7-day outlook a little later in the show.
For now, let's head over to the traffic center with Don Smith with a check of the roads and rails.
Thank you. Good morning, Cara. Yeah, we've already hit our high, I think, here for today here in Union County. Here at 9:01, we're looking at 54 degrees, kind of unheard of, right? For this time in January, really for any time in January, right? Feels like spring. Let's get you over towards our maps here this morning. We'll run down the incident page. So we're still dealing with a crash on 295. Northbound at exit 71 for Federal City Road in Hopewell, really not causing that much of a delay. The Parkway is still north. All lanes are now open. These cleared up that crash at 139. And then the other outlier is this overturned tractor trailer on 287, the ramp to eastbound 78. That is still closing down that exit ramp. So first, let's start off here along 208. Some reason, again, friends, we're going into the holiday weekend, and volume is definitely down, as you'll see at the Hudson River crossings in a minute. But 208 going south has just been really congested getting into Fairlawn for some reason. It's been this way all morning long into Maple Avenue. So I'm not sure whether there's some long-term road work there, maybe kind of tying things up just slightly, but it should have eased out by now. 17, a little heavy here in Rochelle Park this morning. 80, Route 80, that is Route 46. Route 3 is fine. Parkway in Bloomfield out by 148 is a little bit busy. Both ways of 80 is a little heavy here at 287, really just westbound, I should say. 287 is fine. 24, everything in Union County is clear. Again, this is the exit ramp in question here with that overturned tractor trailer. It will be coming here on 287 south to eastbound 78. So that is still continuing to be out of service. The rest of Jersey here, western sections, 78, 31, 22. Central Jersey is fine along 287. The Turnpike, the Parkway is good. Route 1 is looking quiet here this morning. A little bit heavy here at times. And again, just traffic light delays on 27 and Route 1. Coming through Highland Park, coming out of New Brunswick into Edison, all the way up in towards Ford's, and then eventually into Woodbridge Township here this morning. So all in all, not a terrible ride across the Driscoll Bridge. That is where we're going to finish off here to this report for the Parkway or so with the roads, I should say. But let's go to the Hudson River crossings, as I promised. Again, holiday mode here across the board. About 10 to 12 minutes this morning. We'll go to NJ Transit. Everything is on or close. River line, though, the 919 into the Waterfront Entertainment Center is canceled because of a mechanical issue at Hamilton Avenue. And PATH is running on or close to schedule. So that is some good news. It's happening here in a fairly decently quiet traffic center at 9:04. In our next report, we'll check out Central and South Jersey. Kristina and Cara, send it back to you in Fairfield.
Governor Murphy gave his first in-person State of the State address since 2020. The governor touched on a variety of issues, highlighting actions taken to tackle New Jersey's high cost of living.
We continued to increase our investment in our public schools to take further pressure off of property taxpayers. A total increase, by the way, of more than $2 billion with a B dollars since our administration took office. And every penny of that is property tax relief. We enacted again together a state-level child tax credit on top of more than a dozen other tax cuts for our middle class and working families, seniors, and veterans.
Other issues mentioned in the speech include economic growth, public safety, and liquor license reform.
It was odd seeing everybody back in one place again and everybody standing every couple minutes to give the clapping. I didn't miss that.
Yeah, just because it just extends
just
them.
like, okay, but it was an interesting speech, a lot of the same kind of stuff that he's been talking about the past 5 years.
Yeah.
The thing that stood out to me most and the thing that's kind of gone viral is they said, it's cool to admit you're from New Jersey again.
Yeah.
It's like, when did that not become cool?
Yeah.
I've always admitted I was from Jersey.
Said it.
Yeah.
I've always said it. And I always said, no matter when people are like, oh, so the New York area, I'm like, no,
No,
New Jersey.
It's Jersey.
It's Jersey.
It's Jersey. Yeah. Speaking of which, a new study from Wallet Hub says New Jersey is the 7th best state in the country to raise a family.
This study looked at 51 different indicators to come up with the rankings, including childcare costs, median family income, and the unemployment rate.
New Jersey was first on the list in unemployment, 3rd in separation rate, and 4th in median family income and infant mortality. New Jersey was also 5th in childcare costs and violent crimes per capita.
The Northeast had several other states make the top list, with Massachusetts coming in at number 1 and New York coming in 3rd. So on the whole, good place.
Yeah.
Good place to live.
Pretty good rankings. The Wallet Hub is usually pretty on point for their studies.
Absolutely.
Speaking of studies, this is another study that we want to be a part of.
More factual information.
New Jersey has made it to the new list of top bagel cities in the country. Duh. Jersey City checks in at number 5 on the list, which comes from the website Lawn Love.
So a key factor in the ranking of the sheer number of bagel shops in the city is Jersey City has the 2nd most bagel vendors per square mile.
Yeah, Newark and Patterson also made the top 200, coming in 161st and 182nd places, the number 1 city in the country, right across the Hudson River, as New York City lives up to its reputation for bagels. But it's true. I have relatives in South Carolina, in Baltimore, even in North Carolina, and every time they come home,
bagels.
We have to bring them bagels. The first thing they get is the bacon, egg, and cheese on the
everything bagel.
Yep.
You got to do it. We same thing. I've got family in South Carolina, and anytime they're like, please get like 6 dozen bagels, freeze them, bring them down.
Yes, even
the
frozen
bread, the good Italian bread. Like it's all got to go.
It's without fail. They're like, we cannot get a good bagel.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's because it's Jersey.
That's it. That's it. Something in the water.
It is the water.
It really is. That's literally what it is.
Literally.
So for our first guest today, for 27 years, the Russ Berry Making a Difference Award has honored New Jerseyans who make a difference in their community, and they're now taking nominations for this year's award, which will be given out in May.
Amazing. Here now to talk about it is spokesperson Meredith Lee. Thanks so much for coming on the show, Meredith.
Oh, thanks so much for having me. It's a great opportunity to talk about the award.
So, Meredith, what makes the award so special?
What's so special about it is that we are looking for the everyday people who are going out, making a difference, taking on challenging issues, going full stop, and just committing themselves to make a difference, to be a change maker, to create positive change in their communities. And it's so special because it's really about those folks that are not necessarily in the headlines, but are out there every single day. And that was the intention behind what Mr. Russell Berry wanted to do, is to honor those people and shine a light on their great work.
How do you go about choosing the finalists for the award?
Well, we run a nomination campaign statewide, and that we are currently in right now from January to early February. And we have a wonderful advisory board that is made up of leaders in philanthropy, from community organizations, nonprofits. And it's a really rigorous process. We usually get around 300 nominations, and each one is, an incredibly special person, and they're nominated by others in their community, people whose lives they've touched. So it's really a joy to read through and hear these stories of how people are making a difference. And it's a tough challenge to get down to usually 10, 11 finalists every year. But that's where we are limited in the awards, because we really want it to be able to make an impact for those 10 people. One of the really unique aspects is that this award gives a cash prize to each person, each of the 10 people. And our top award is a $50,000 award. So you can just imagine how much good people can do with that money. So
yeah, that's fantastic.
Yeah. Amazing. And Meredith, you had mentioned Russell Berry, who the award is named in honor of. How did his legacy inspire the Making a Difference Award?
Well, Mr. Berry created this award in 1997, and we've had the opportunity to have his family members talk about, the origins and how this came up. And they were very much from his heart, sitting around his brunch table on Sundays. They talk about having bagels and just having this discussion, how could we honor these people? And he saw it as a different way to approach philanthropy. There's wonderful organizations that get funded through grants and different types of things, but this is a gift directly to a person who's made some sacrifices of their time, very often their money, and put a lot of energy into doing something for other people. So he really wanted to make that a significant aspect of the things that he gave money towards, and his foundation carried this on after his passing in 2002.
What a legacy. Who are some of the notable finalists and winners that have been featured recently?
Sure. Well, our honorees, they come from all around the state. And, one of the things that's so special is, they're almost all of them are people who've been touched by sometimes a tragic circumstance, sometimes just seeing a continual injustice or something that just wasn't right in their community. And they went out and they did something about it, and they've stayed the course. They've stayed with it for years and years. So, we have everyone from a wonderful guy in Camden, Pino Rodriguez, who as a father learned from the court that he could not have his children in his home in Camden because the neighborhood was too dangerous. And he said, I'm not going to put up with that. And he organized something called the Block Supporters Initiative. And it's a wonderful movement where they've reclaimed their community and made it a safe place. Others that have won this award have been, young people that are using the arts for advocacy. A great program in Camden, Samir Nichols, Superior Arts Institute, training superior artists to advocate through their artistic talents. We've had folks that our top winner last year, Deanna Mejia, has been an immigration advocate whose passion is to see people treated humanely through policies, and has put herself on the line as, in protests, and has really gone out to say that everyone should have the right to live, without fear of being, treated badly, being deported. So, we really are seeing people tackle issues, huge range from arts to mental health to, anti-poverty, people who want to lift up others. And it's just an amazing group of people. It's a wonderful community.
Those stories are just
Absolutely.
incredible, Meredith. Absolutely. So then what can folks expect from the ceremony this coming May?
Well, we have a ceremony that we host every year. The partner for this program from 1997 has been Ramapo College of New Jersey, where I'm sitting right now today. Mr. Behr partnered with us way back in 1997, and we've carried it out every year. So we do have an in-person ceremony that, all of the honorees and their guests are invited to. But what we've been doing for the last couple of years is presenting a video presentation that highlights every one of the honorees. So people will be able to find that on our website, which is behind us. That will come out right on the day of the ceremony, May 5th, 2023. They can learn all about the people who are nominated. They can understand the kind of folks that we're looking for, and be prepared in the next years to do their nominations.
Fantastic. Where can people go to find out more or even submit a nomination?
To submit a nomination, that berryawardnj.org. You can also just put in the full Russ Berry Making a Difference Award, and you will find us there. It's a nomination form that's done online, and it's really very streamlined. You will have to have some information about the person that you want to nominate. But for this year, we're going through February 10th, 2023, and then next year we'll be around again right in the beginning of January through February. And again,
Awesome.
We just love to see people from every walk of life, from teens to seniors, everything in between.
I love it.
Amazing.
Meredith, thank you so much for joining us this morning. It's a great award and a great program. Thank you again.
Thanks so much.
Well, a new report from real estate data company Adam says the most expensive part of New Jersey to live in, Bergen County.
It's not surprising.
Not
The
surprising.
report says the median home in Bergen County goes for a whopping $650,000, requiring a $171,000 income to be able to afford. Morris County, right behind it, with an average home value of $550,000.
Again, not surprising. Median sales prices got much lower as you get further away from New York City. For instance, Warren County's average home value is $335,000, while down the shore, Atlantic County, even cheaper at $279,000, roughly $1,000, close to $280,000. But no surprise.
It's not, yeah.
I
I mean, it really is. It's that proximity to the city.
Of course.
It's that, yeah.
Yeah, it's
But-
not going to change probably for a long time, even with remote, working from home, and it's still the prices are still going to,
Yeah,
continue
because
to
you're
stay the
still
same.
never, I mean, even as wild as the market went during the pandemic and folks fleeing the city, the fact of the matter, like, Times Square is always going to be in New York City. Rockefeller Center is always
Right.
going to be in New York City.
Yeah.
Like, just the ability to access those
Right.
attractions and things like that. I mean, it's always going to be priced.
Location.
That's
Right?
it.
Yeah.
That's the one. So New Jersey schools still haven't spent most of the COVID relief money they received during the pandemic.
Yeah, a new report from the Future Ed think tank at Georgetown University says New Jersey schools have spent only 26.6% of their $4.7 billion in total spending. That's less than the national average, which was about 35.6% of the money awarded.
So that puts New Jersey at 44th out of 50 states in terms of how much relief money it spent. A total of $189.5 billion was distributed to schools around the country to help with remote learning and safety protocols.
We have to do something about this money just sitting there.
Yeah, it's so interesting. And it, it's one of those things, again, like, the property taxes are so high in this state because the majority of it goes to the school
Schools.
systems.
Why are you not using it?
Yeah, like, if the governor is trying to give us property tax relief, spend the COVID money in the
Right.
schools and
reallocate,
like,
do something. It's interesting too, is like, why, like, what's the reason behind them not using it? Did they not need it? Obviously. Is it or is it just that people aren't coming up with plans on how to use the money?
right.
Or,
And sometimes I know a lot of times that those federal funds, if it was for remote learning and safety, it has to be spent in those
In a certain
areas,
way,
kind of
yeah.
thing, where it's not like they can't just be like, okay, like, all the teacher salaries are this paid out of this
Right.
this year.
Right. That would be nice if
That
it
would
went to
be
teacher
nice.
salaries. I mean, that's a huge issue in and of itself.
In and of itself,
but
exactly.
Yeah. So yeah, we'll see how that, how the year goes and how that money will be allocated and what will happen.
Yeah, what they decide to do with it, absolutely.
Yeah. Well, some labor laws have changed in New Jersey as we head into the new year, and the minimum wage has now increased to $14.13 an hour. Meantime, teenage workers now able to work up to either 40 or 50 hours a week in the summer, depending on their age.
All right, so here now to talk about this is Michelle Sikirka of the New Jersey Business and Industry Association. Thank you so much for joining us, Michelle.
Hi, good morning, ladies. Pleasure to be with you today.
Yeah, some big changes here. How will the effect of the new minimum wage be on businesses? That's the key, probably the key issue here that people are most interested in.
Yeah, well, let me say it absolutely varies. From the very beginning, we said, let the market dictate what happens with minimum wage, because frankly, what we've seen over the last few years is $14 or $15 is below a floor. In order to attract and retain a vibrant workforce, we see New Jersey employers paying $16, $17, $18 an hour, right? And so the increase to, just over $14, and keep in mind, please, this means entry level position. The whole idea was always give somebody an entry point, and then it's incumbent upon us as individuals, as workers in the workforce, to build up our skills so that we can grow our skills, grow our income, right? But let me just say, for those companies that are dependent on minimum wage workers, and that'll take us into the team discussion, right? Every single dollar matters, especially right now in this COVID world that we continue to live in.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely. So then please, how do you think businesses are going to respond to this change? Because I think, you always hear that, like, we're not making the money to pay these people more. And I feel like it's like a chicken egg issue. Like, is it easier? Do businesses make more money when folks have more disposable income? Or is it like, which way does it work?
Well, we've seen, talk about inflation, right? Yes. Think of all the money that came to people during COVID, and that money got spent in the economy. That was the idea, right? But think of now how inflation has impacted everything. So we could say, great, let's keep bringing up the wages. But the issue is that's expense on the part of the employer. And for those that every single dollar matters, their pie is only so big, right? That's money that they're not able to reinvest in the company. It's not money that they're able to put into benefits or hiring new folks. And so the more squeezed you get on the expense side, the more you have to cut those things that we want to ensure employees can have, like benefits, So it is chicken and egg, but you got to think what comes in one side goes out the other. That's why it's called a balance sheet.
You mentioned the teen law too. I mean, that's a huge impact. I remember as a kid working in a pizzeria, I was 17 and I wanted to work more hours, but I was not able to because of the
Because
law.
of the laws.
How is that? What can we expect out of that new portion of the law?
So I'm really excited to say that New Jersey has caught up with what were archaic laws in archaic times. Especially let's talk about the tourism season and the tourism industry, right? The rules before were that, students couldn't work beyond 10 o'clock at night. And yet we have 16, 17, 18-year-olds, right, out on the boardwalks at midnight.
Yeah.
So
Right.
let's put them to work. And to what you said, we had folks saying, hey, I want to work more. I want to make money for school, right? I want money from my pocket. And the employer's saying, I'm sorry, but the law won't allow. So what do
Right.
we have? And I want to say NJBIA is so proud to have led this effort. It started with some relief that was temporary during COVID, during tourism season, and we were able to get permanent change. Now those teen workers, instead of 40 hours, they can work up to 50. They can work 10-hour shift. And most importantly, with permission from their parents, they can work beyond 10 o'clock at night.
That's fantastic. Yeah, because you're seeing these teens, like you mentioned, on the boardwalk, getting into trouble and doing things
Right.
that they shouldn't be doing. And it's like, you might as well be putting that to good use and getting, some money in your pocket. Maybe you can
Getting a
use
check.
that towards.
Well, and I mean, your boys aren't teenagers yet, but
Yeah.
and Michelle, I feel like there's been kind of a decline in teens working over the years where they, the parents want them focused on school and sports and things like that. And there's really, and I think that's also been part of the argument around minimum wage is a lot of people are like, well, minimum wage was meant for teenage workers to have pocket money. And instead we're getting, single parents and people who are trying to work a minimum wage job and pay a mortgage and feed their children instead. And that's where like the friction comes from.
Yeah, you're spot on with our advocacy. I mean, those are absolutely the information points that we drive home each and every day. Look, we have a workforce crisis. Okay. There are not enough people to fill the open jobs. That continues in every industry. But again, I'm going to go right to tourism, which drives a huge part of our economy in the state of New Jersey from June all the way through September.
Yeah.
And yes, what we've seen over the past few years, unfortunately, the teen worker numbers have gone down, whether it be for more education, sports, think about sports now go through middle of summer. Anybody who had a sport kid knew you sat out there in like July during All-Stars. You want them to make the championship game, but you want to get on vacation, right?
Yeah.
And then you also have at the end of the summer, the kids going back early. Colleges start, August.
Mid-August, yeah.
You've got those sport camps again. So, in tourism industry, they've relied heavily on J-1 visas, which was a challenge the last few years too. Now, thank God that's catching back up, right? So we wanted to encourage our youth workforce to come out to earn as much money as they can so they can put that money in their pocket toward their education or towards spending needs that they have as young adults. And this legislation really helps and empowers that.
No doubt this will also help with the staffing shortages, as you mentioned. I mean, some of the businesses have been, suffering so much that we've seen so many closures too. Do you think that'll happen? What's the time frame with that? Do you think it'll be mostly summertime that we'll see, a better outcome?
Well, we did. I mean, this past summer. But let me say, just think about the fact when you add 2 extra hours times 4 employees, that's another full-time worker that you don't have to go out and find.
Yeah.
And especially when those are workers that are looking for the opportunity, which the youth workers were. We saw a lot of burnout in these retail and hospitality, establishments because there was no workforce. You had the owners, you had the parents, the family waiting tables, seating people, right?
Yeah.
So to the extent that we can get that youth workforce out, let's empower and enable to get the most out of them as we can.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Hey, Michelle, what other impacts could this law have on the economy on the whole?
Well, anytime we can put people to work, it's positive, for sure. Again, the workforce crisis right now is across all industry, no matter who you are or where you are. I go into any room and I say, who's having trouble either hiring or retaining? And the hands go way up. So on the teen worker side, again, anytime we can add hours, that's incredible because it replaces the need to bring somebody else on. And, just back on the minimum wage, I just want to reemphasize entry level position.
Yeah.
It was never meant for someone to live their entire, livelihood on. And
Right.
that's why at BIA, we spend so much time on workforce development and skill building, because organically, when you increase your skills, you increase your wages. The data tells you that time in and time out. And that's what companies want. A hard worker wants to get elevated, an employer wants to elevate a hard worker. And some jobs are meant for folks to just be there for a bit and move on to something else. So
Yeah.
let's look at these jobs for what they are, and then let's try to move people into the opportunity to get the skills they need so that organically they can grow their income.
Advancement for sure. Michelle, where can people find more information about BIA?
It's real easy, njbia.org.
Love it. Michelle, thank you so much for coming on this morning and shedding more light on this. This was really great.
Yeah.
Thanks. Great spending time with you this morning. Be well.
Thank you. Yeah, that's good stuff. It's
Yeah, because when so many, there were a lot of naysayers when they came out and said that there was going to be a minimum wage increase. Oh, well, now businesses are going to even go out of business even more because they can't afford it. But it's like you said, it's a chicken and the egg kind of deal. It's, it's a push and pull and sort of the balance, as she was saying.
That's it. Yeah. Because somebody who's, and even if it is your teenager or whatever, guess they're going to go out and buy something. They're going to buy French fries. You know what I mean? So it
gets them in that workforce mindset too, like post-college, like you have experience now on your resume, whether it's waiting tables or you have some sort of concrete experience.
And you have some ability to budget too. All
Right.
of a sudden, like
work with money.
You realize you're like, my mom's right. There is food at the house.
Right. I don't need that Starbucks today.
I don't need that Starbucks latte today. Yes, exactly.
So yeah, it all seems positive.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, listen, speaking of budgeting, gas prices continue to trend downward across the Garden State, with the current average now sitting at $3.28 a gallon. That's 17 cents less than the state average a month ago.
The most expensive gas in the state can be found in Somerset County with an average of $3.42 a gallon. For the cheapest gas in the state, you'll have to head up to Sussex County, which has an average of just $3.15 a gallon.
And AAA says prices could continue to tick lower as markets no longer have to contend with increased demand from holiday travelers.
That's good. We like it to go down.
Yes, absolutely.
Not up. Hey, by the way, you can always find us over on social media. If you ever miss anything, search for @NJ Morning Show on Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter, and click follow.
Right now, families all across New Jersey are struggling with hunger, and their financial futures remain uncertain. You can be the hope for our hungry neighbors in need in a time when that need is still so great. The Community Food Bank of New Jersey, the state's largest anti-hunger, anti-poverty organization, is filling the emptiness caused by hunger with food, help, and hope. Go to cfbnj.org now to join us.
The New Jersey Hall of Fame is coming to you, celebrating our best and brightest, greeting guests along our Garden State Parkway through its 9 service areas, engaging travelers from our terminals to our transit centers, inspiring new generations as we move from town to town, and at New Jersey's hottest red carpet ceremony, inspiring New Jerseyans at our new home at American Dream. It's the New Jersey Hall of Fame, and it's where you want to be, because everyone needs a hero.
Back to our weather forecast for today so we can soak in these milder temperatures before they cool off at the end of the day. Newark's going to top out at 55 degrees today. We'll have 54 in Seabright and Belmar, 56 in Camden, and 53 in Flemington.
And while we'll be drying out after that rain we had overnight, we'll be left with mostly cloudy sky for the rest of the day. As we take a look at the next 3 days, the temperatures will be back to normal territory for the weekend. But Martin Luther King Jr. Day features mid-40s with a mostly sunny sky. So it's a nice day to get outside if you have the day off. There's a few parades outside too on Monday as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, stick around for an exclusive look at expected conditions for Saturday's polar bear plunge in Wildwood in our next weather update.
That's always a good time.
Absolutely. But right now, let's check the roads and the rails with Don Smith.
Thank you, Cara, and good morning, Kristina. Yeah, we got almost 54 degrees here in Union County, so definitely feels a little more springish than winter. Let's get you over to the maps here this morning. We'll check out our incident page, and we still have the outlier here is 287 south, the ramp to 78 east in Bedminster. It's been shut all morning long with an overturned tractor trailer. They're in the process of clearing that up. Also, crash here on the turnpike, the entrance ramp for the Parkway to interchange 11. Looks like all the lanes are open. Same thing on the Parkway North in Union. And because it is the holiday weekend, volume is way down here this morning. We'll take a look at Central Jersey, Turnpike 195, Route 9, your Parkway 34, 71, 18 looks pretty good. It may even be, later on this afternoon when, some of those winds may start to kick up a little bit out there. It could be a nice walk on the boardwalk in Point Pleasant or down through Seaside Heights. Get some vitamin D, some golden sunshine. Route 937, we're fine. 70 looks pretty good. 295 is fine. Pennsylvania extension of the Turnpike is clear. Even over towards Cherry Hill, again, lots of green out here this morning along 42, 295 at the Aljo Curve, 295 in Swedesboro, Delaware Memorial Bridge, Woodstown on 45, 40, 55, 322. Friends, it really just doesn't get much better than this. Maybe take a little road trip down to Cape May this weekend and enjoy some of the great shopping down there. Same thing in Wildwood, as Cara just said about the polar bear plunge. I wonder what the ocean temperature is, actually. Atlantic City is going to be moving along well. So, again, our volume is going to be way down here this morning. We'll take a look at our bridges and tunnels. We'll give you the freshest numbers. Let me just hit the refresh button. Check that out. And hopefully it will come up. We know about new toll rates that are in effect already. And I'm not sure why. Oh, there it is. So under 10 minutes across the board. And transit, again, we're on or close to schedule. Same thing with PATH is running fine. Same thing with SEPTA. So again, friends, traffic is way down. Certainly drive safely, though, because roadways in certain areas are still just a little bit wet. And that's happening here in the traffic center at 9:31. Cara and Kristina, back over to you.
Thanks, Don.
Well, as we're now, of course, in the new year, some people may find it hard to stick with their New Year's resolutions, but why is that the case exactly? Well, psychologist Dr. Carrie Ditzel of Baker Street Behavioral Health says it has to do with how you approach your resolution.
The challenge with goal setting and achieving our goals, and thus the resolution, is often when we, in a way, kind of set ourselves up for failure. So some of the challenges come when we set a goal that is a quantifiable thing, like a number, like I want to lose X amount of pounds or save X dollars, and we don't actually set ourselves up for the steps that get us to that.
Dr. Ditzel says focusing on the process of achieving a resolution can help make it more attainable.
Yeah.
So I think, again, we've been talking about those, those baby steps. It's like, okay, I want to lose 40 pounds. How do I lose a pound?
Yeah. Or, incorporate more veggies into my diet.
Right.
Or things
Exactly.
like that.
Yeah. Just make them kind of broader strokes. You'd be surprised at the results.
Yeah. I love that. It makes it makes it more attainable.
Yeah.
And not as daunting.
Yes,
of a task.
absolutely.
Well, inflation, of course, continues to be a key focus as we head into the new year. While the rate has dropped from its peak of 9.1% last June, the current rate of 6.5% is still well above normal.
Enduring Investments Managing Principal Michael Ashton expects inflation to continue to impact the economy this year.
Inflation going back down doesn't mean prices go back down. People kind of mistake one for the other. And the other is that when inflation goes down, so the rate of increase of prices is going to slow. It's not going to slow as much as it had been for the last quarter century of prices going up 2% a year. That's not going to happen.
Well, it expects things like higher wages to keep inflation above the pre-pandemic baseline of 2%. It is going down, but not enough.
Yeah. I mean, it's been insane.
Yeah, it's just been really hard on literally everybody. It's
on everybody,
down.
on everything.
Yeah.
And I think I really, I look at it kind of the same way I looked at the pandemic, where I was like, everybody's just doing their best.
Yeah,
I mean, when you go to a restaurant or you
Yeah.
go to buy your whatever it is, and you're like, this restaurant owner's trying to make up. No, they're not. They're doing their best. It is what it is. Go
keep
make
it
your coffee
moving.
at home if it's too much.
Yeah.
I don't know what to tell you. Like,
Keep it moving. Just go.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. I agree.
All right, guys. Preschool Advantage is a nonprofit that helps raise money for New Jersey families that can't afford preschool for their kids.
Yeah, speaking of affordability, here now to tell us more about it is their executive director, Nancy Bangiola. Thank you so much for coming on the show, Nancy.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
So, Nancy, and what inspired the creation of Preschool Advantage?
Well, we started about 27 years ago when our founders, Jill and Stuart Lasser, were sending their own child to preschool. And they noticed that there were children in this school who were struggling to afford preschool. And so they asked the director if they could fund a child in the following year. And they selected a child. They were granted the opportunity to do that. They selected a child with the help of a local church, and they sent the first child to school. The following year, they did the same thing, and the following year, they asked some friends to join them. And then shortly after, they founded a nonprofit then called Project Acorn. And they started just by funding a few children a year, and now we fund 100 children every year for preschool in Morris and Somerset County.
How does it exactly help families in need? Is it just that financial support?
So our mission is so straightforward and so simple. We open the doors to preschool, we unlock the possibilities beyond. And we do that by funding preschool at 28 now local partner preschools in Morris and Somerset County. They provide the educational opportunity, and we fund the tuition for families essentially in the middle. So those that make too much to qualify for federal or state assistance, but not enough to make it in Morris and Somerset County.
Yeah.
Wow, absolutely. So how has Preschool Advantage been able to grow and help more families participate?
Well, you know, each year we've grown, and we've grown with word of mouth as people learn about this opportunity. We've grown as we've added preschool after preschool. We started with one partner 27 years ago, and then quickly expanded in Morristown, and then into the county, and then beyond the county into Somerset County. So we add partners every year. We've added a new partner this year in Somerset County, and we find new families every year. Every year there's a brand new crop of 3 and 4-year-olds who need the opportunity to go to preschool.
And are you planning on expanding as well? I mean, the fact that New York City, right next door, New York even, has free pre-K, and we, the next door neighbors, we don't.
I'm actually surprised. And again, because I don't yet have children, and I didn't realize that pre-K was not part of the public school system.
And even some kindergartens are only half day. Like my district is only a half day. So you still need that pre-K sort of care even after pre-K, because, you know, they don't have a full day kindergarten. You know, is there a possibility of this changing in the near future? What are you guys hearing?
Yeah, so the state of New Jersey is looking at funding universal pre-K for all 3 and 4-year-olds by 2030. That's the state goal.
Yeah.
And we're very hopeful. No one would be happier than us if the state was able to fund every preschool student in the state by 2030. But they're doing that little by little in each little community as the need arises. And they're going about it in a need-based way. So communities like Newark and Trenton and Camden have universal pre-K. Morristown, for example, has universal pre-K. But many other communities like Mendham and Madison and Bernardsville, where there's great financial need, do not have universal pre-K. And those are the families we help. So until the state is able to reach that universal goal, we'll be there funding one child at a time.
Yeah, I mean, it takes a hit, you know, particularly on lower income families, but also the middle class families. I mean, some of these daycares and pre-Ks can cost as much as a mortgage per month.
Girlfriend is literally, they are waiting to have their second child because the cost of daycare is so high they can't do 2 at once.
Right. And then, you know, if you're carrying that up to kindergarten and sometimes kindergarten beyond, it takes a huge toll. Yeah.
Right. The average salary of a family that we help is at $48,000 a year.
Oof.
If half-day preschool is $5,000 or $5,500 a year or $7,000 a year, that's more than 10% of their pre-tax income.
It's just not
the math just doesn't work for those families. And so they choose great daycare options or sometimes lesser daycare options, but they're not nearly the impact that preschool has on that growing, expanding 3 and 4-year-old brain.
Right.
I have a fun fact to share with you.
Yeah.
Did you know that 85% of all you'll learn or know happens before you're age 5?
Wow.
That's incredible.
That's actually terrifying to know. Because
it's hopeless at this point.
It's hopeless at this point for you know.
Right. There's the flip side of that. As you age, it's a little daunting. But for the young person, their brain is expanding at a phenomenal level.
Rapidly.
And it's daunting for a parent too, because then you're faced with the problem of, oh my gosh, what if I don't get them into the right daycare? that is following the curriculum or the things that they need to be learning by the time they get to grade school? What if they miss out on the opportunity? That's also daunting.
That's absolutely true. We say that all the time. You're 3 once, you're
Yeah.
4 once, and that window closes. So the opportunity to get that lead time, that great education, that beautiful start to your educational journey only comes once in a child's life. And so we have great joy when we're able to fund a family.
That is
fantastic.
incredible.
Yeah.
Hey, Nancy, how can folks sign up as a family if they are in need or they know someone in need?
Right. So it's very easy. Just go to our website, preschooladvantage.org, and you'll see many buttons that say register here or application here, click on this. And the online application will appear. It's a pretty user-friendly application. It leads you through the steps. You'll submit that to us, and we're really underway right now. We're accepting applications beginning in January. Our review season will start, and by March and April, we'll begin to place kids.
Fantastic. Thank you for all of you do. This is such an important topic, and thanks for coming on again and shedding some light on all of this. We appreciate you.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, I'm thinking about it now, and we go back and we look at all the daycares that our kids have been in. I mean, my littlest has been in 3 daycares so far, and in his entire life, he's 4 years old.
Wow.
And so you really wonder, like, is he really getting the education that's setting him up for success once he gets to school? Because then you really see that, the differences here. Like, is he up to speed with these other children that are there?
Yeah.
And where did we go wrong, kind of thing. But we'll see. But you just hope for the best and hope that it becomes universal pre-K soon.
Yeah, man, that's I really thought pre-K was part of the educational system.
Right. So while New Jersey is known for its education, pre-K,
Not part
free
of it.
pre-K is not universal for everybody, which is detrimental. Yeah. Something to think about.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, coming up, we're going to get one final look at the traffic and weather.
Plus, we're going to take a look at what Giants fans can expect ahead of their first playoff game since 2016.
Yes, we are rooting for blue. That is for sure. And don't forget, you can always check us out on social media. Head to Facebook, Twitter at NJ Morning Show and click follow.
Right now, families all across New Jersey are struggling with hunger, and their financial futures remain uncertain. You can be the hope for our hungry neighbors in need in a time when that need is still so great. The Community Food Bank of New Jersey, the state's largest anti-hunger, anti-poverty organization, is filling the emptiness caused by hunger with food, help, and hope. Go to cfbnj.org now to join us.
The New Jersey Hall of Fame is coming to you, celebrating our best and brightest, greeting guests along our Garden State Parkway through its 9 service areas, engaging travelers from our terminals to our transit centers, inspiring new generations as we move from town to town, and at New Jersey's hottest red carpet ceremony, inspiring New Jerseyans at our new home at American Dream. It's the New Jersey Hall of Fame, and it's where you want to be because everyone needs a hero.
Well, so far it has not been a very cold winter, but it will get colder for Saturday's polar bear plunge in Wildwood. Under a mix of sun and clouds, temperature will struggle to get to just around 40 degrees by early afternoon on Saturday.
Ooh, if you're going to go in the plunge, brace yourselves. The water temperatures are around the low to mid 40s elsewhere across the state this weekend. By the way, we have highs in the upper 30s, low 40s. Morristown only gets to 38 degrees on Saturday, 41 on Sunday, and we have 39 and 43 for Trenton, more low 40s for Camden and Atlantic City.
And then the 7-day outlook shows another warming trend for next week. Temperatures will range anywhere from the mid 40s to low 50s next week with a chance of some rain showers on Tuesday and Thursday.
Need the blankets for the plunge.
That polar plunge, those people are crazy.
But it's all for a good cause.
It is all for a good cause. I absolutely get it. I really do. But I just feel like there's got to be something else you could do. Where do I write the check? I'm not going in the water.
The cloud of jumping in the water.
Of jumping in the freezer. No, it looks like fun. Everybody who does it says it's a blast.
It is a blast. It just wakes you up. It gives you, a little burst of energy.
Woof. Absolutely.
Speaking of energy, you're going to need some on the roads. Let's get another check of the roads and rails with Don.
Yeah, thanks, Kristina. Thanks, Cara. Good morning to you. Let's get you over to the maps. And going into a holiday weekend, our volume is way, way down here this morning. So just be careful, first of all, drive slowly. Just because you got the whole road open doesn't mean need to be doing like 100 miles an hour. Just be careful and just slow it down. Because also on the back end of it here, the roadways are still a little bit wet. So it could be a little bit slippery until we get some of those winds to kind of almost act like a jet dryer to kind of clear out our roads. But volume-wise, accident-wise, everything is clean and green. 2317 Bergen County. Parkway is good. So is 208. Finally, have eased out the delays into Fairlawn this morning. 15 through Sparta, out through Oak Ridge. We're doing just fine here along 23. Ogdensburg, Hardiston, Franklin, Hamburg, maybe heading up towards High Point State Park this morning or later on this afternoon. Could be a little bit of a breezy kind of cold afternoon there, but still nonetheless nice. 206 in Sandiston is good. 206 Newton, Andover, Lake Mohawk on 15. Again, 80, 206. Route 10, Western Jersey, Independence on 46. Hackettstown, 80. Blairstown, 94. Maybe head over towards the Friday the 13th filming site, Camp Nobi Bosco, out in Blairstown, and on this Friday the 13th. Again, that movie premiered way back in 1980. Can you imagine that? Wow. I think that may have been one of Kevin Bacon's first movies. Maybe that's where the 6 Degrees of Separation maybe starts. I'm not sure. 78 in Bedminster. It looks like they've cleaned up the overturned tractor trailer. Let's just go back to the incident page. Now it's still there. The ramp off of 287 South, eastbound 78, that is still shut. And we got some police department activity on the Bayonne Bridge going into Staten Island. So just be mindful of that. Let me widen up the map even a little bit more for you. As you can see, Central Jersey Turnpike Parkway, 195 through Trenton, 295. Everything here in South Jersey looks good on 295, 55, 40, 30, 322, I should say. Route 9 and your Parkway all the way to Cape May is a beautiful ride. Let's give you the freshest numbers here on New Jersey Transit. I think we're still holding strong. Well, now we got some delays here, or at least an alert on the Montclair line. 9:51 arrival into Penn Station, New York, so it's 15 minutes late. We'll give you the path numbers here. So far, still in pretty good shape. Sometimes this takes us a second to kind of populate here, but as that is doing that, our Hudson River crossings are all under about 10 minutes or so. And let's see if this path line can come up. There we go. Still, everything is going to be in fantastic order, and SEPTA's on or close to schedule. And that's happening here in a very quiet traffic center. Have a fantastic Friday. Again, drive safely, 2 hands on the wheel as those winds kind of pick up a little bit later on this afternoon. Have a great holiday weekend, and we'll see you back here on the morning show next Thursday. Cara, Kristina, send it back into you.
All right, Donnie, thanks so much.
So the Giants are back in the playoffs for the first time since 2016. They'll look to advance to the NFC divisional round on Sunday while they play the Vikings in Minnesota. Our own Chris Sakonis caught up with WFAN Giants reporter Paul Dottino to break it all down.
Hello and welcome to another edition of On Sports. I'm Chris Sakonis, and the Giants are back in the playoffs for the first time since 2016. Joining us to break it all down ahead of Sunday's big game is Paul Dottino, Giants reporter for WFAN. Paul, really appreciate the time as always. Thank you for coming on.
Very good to see you, Chris. It's an enjoyable time of the year.
Yeah, for sure. So let's just sort of take the big picture here for a second. Giants go on this remarkable run to start the season and ultimately pull off the turnaround and make it back to the playoffs. So in your view, what was the engine behind this turnaround?
Well, I don't think there's any doubt. It really goes to the coach, Brian Daboll, and the general manager, Joe Shane. They overturned about half of the roster this year compared to last year. Now, there are a lot of foundational pieces in place from the previous regime with Dave Gettleman. But in all honesty, because of all the injuries that this team had this year, there were a number of new faces, whether they be rookies or veterans that the Giants brought in, and even some they pulled off the scrap heap, who were forced to give them production. And those guys are as big a part of the reason why the Giants won 9 games and made it to the playoffs as anybody. And so I think really the credit kind of goes to those guys first and foremost, and then really to a secondary degree, the staff. the positional coaches on this coaching staff did a sensational job of getting each one of the positions prepared to the point where they could compete.
Yeah, and I want to key in a bit on the one point you made about the injuries. Had to overcome a lot of key injuries, the Giants did in this season. So could you sort of key in on, a couple of the key guys that have had to step up in that situation?
Well, yeah, I mean, just look at the whole wide receiving core. I mean, Kenny Golladay got buried early on, and then you had the injuries, obviously, to Wan'Dale Robinson and Sterling Shepard and Kadarius Toney, who wound up getting traded. So you could make a case that the top four receivers on your team, depending upon where you wanted to slot Darius Slayton, were really not a factor. And so what happened? Slayton wound up coming out of the doghouse and then producing during the last 2/3 of the season. And then clearly Richie James, who was nothing more than a special teams player, at least coming into the season, became their leading receiver out of the room. And then Isaiah Hodgins, who was picked up, after Buffalo got rid of him in the middle of the year, he's now a very important starting component in that passing game. So those guys right away have to be the poster childs for how the Giants came back with guys at the back of the depth chart. And then quite frankly, in the secondary, I mean, let's not kid ourselves. They were ravaged between McKinney having that Jeep accident on his vacation. And so, they needed some step up there, as well as at corner when Adoree Jackson went down and missed virtually a third of the season. So guys like Fabian Moreau and Jason Pinnock had to come through. Nate Belton, Dane Belton, the rookie, had to come through. I think those are the secondary and the wide receiver room are the ones that I would point to the most.
Want to talk about Saquon Barkley for a second, because he's had quite the resurgence, rushing over 1,300 yards, 10 touchdowns on the season. What's been behind his resurgence?
Well, there's really a couple of things. Let's start with his health. He's as healthy as he's been since his rookie season, and so that's got to be the number one factor. The number two factor has to be the offensive line. The Giants were really bottom feeders along the offensive line for several years. This year, they clearly are the middle of the pack. They're not a top-rate offensive line yet, but they're now a middle-of-the-pack offensive line. And when you consider the jump from where they came from, that is a dramatic improvement. Those two factors have made Barkley the Pro Bowl running back that he has now become once again for the second time in his career.
And also Daniel Jones, the quarterback, also taking a leap forward in this offense.
Yeah.
And that's been massive for the passing game, especially when you consider the guys that have had to step up in the wide receiver core, as you mentioned before, Paul.
Daniel Jones has done a number of things. First and foremost, he has the lowest interception percentage in the National Football League. So can we please get rid of that turnover tattoo that so many critics wanted to place on him earlier in his career? That is long gone by now. And then the other things you have to consider, Brian Daboll worked with him during the offseason to improve his decision-making, to improve his escapability within the pocket, to improve his ability to throw on the run, and then also, quite honestly, to also kind of clean up his decision-making in the run game, where he now really seems to take off with the ball in smarter situations as opposed to just waiting for havoc to kind of cause him to take off with the ball.
So I want to focus on this matchup here. Giants rematching. They played the Vikings in Minnesota on Christmas Eve. Minnesota winning that matchup 27-24. What can we take away from that game that we could apply to the rematch here in the wild card round?
Well, both teams will obviously tweak things, but let's be very clear, Chris. The Vikings played a very clean game that day. They were only called for 2 penalties. They did not turn the ball over. And as far as I'm concerned, I don't know that they can play much better. I think that's probably about the best you're going to see from that Minnesota team. I don't know that they could do more. The Giants, on the other hand, let's see. They turned the ball over twice. on a fumble in the Vikings offensive end, or in the positive territory. They had an interception that they gave up when Jones did underthrow Hodgins and Peterson made a play. So that's 2 turnovers. The Giants had a blocked punt in their own territory, which led to a short field and an easy Vikings touchdown. Okay. You also had Richie James drop what would have been first down passes, 2 of them in the fourth quarter in Minnesota territory. And then, of course, the Vikings did convert a 61-yard field goal on the final play of the game. All of these things had to happen for the Vikings to squeak by 27-24 at the gun. I would say to you, the Giants gave that game away with their sloppiness. They also had 7 penalties called against them. I see a tremendous amount of room for the Giants to play a better game. Remember, they gained almost 450 yards of total offense that day, okay? And yet, they still wound up with only 24 points and lost because of all of the mistakes and the sloppiness that they had. I would maintain to you that if the Giants play their A game and clean up the sloppiness, they should be in control of this game and they should win.
All right. Really appreciate the time. Paul Dottino, Giants reporter for WFAN. Always good talking to you.
Good to be with you. Anytime.
Thank you. All right. Another day, another dramatic finish for Rutgers men's basketball's go-ahead 3 from Cam Spencer was the difference in a 65-62 road win over Northwestern. Spencer was the go-to man on offense for the Scarlet Knights, finishing with 23 points and hitting on 6 of 7 from behind the arc. For Rutgers, the focus now turns to a massive Sunday matchup in Piscataway against Ohio State, in a game that could go a long way towards deciding the regular season Big Ten champion. Buckeyes beat the Scarlet Knights 67-66 in Columbus last month. Well, the Jets are in the market for a new offensive coordinator after the team announced last night that they were mutually parting ways with Mike LaFleur. Over the last 2 seasons, LaFleur was the offensive coordinator as the Jets often struggled to score points with an offense led by young quarterback Zach Wilson. With LaFleur moving on from New York, head coach Robert Saleh will have an opportunity to rework the offense ahead of a potentially pivotal 2023 season. The Jets missed the playoffs for the 12th straight year, losing their last 6 games in a row to finish 7-10. Well, the Devils are getting back into a rhythm, winning back-to-back games after trailing by multiple goals. They beat the Carolina Hurricanes on Tuesday night after trailing 3-1 late in the second period. Before that, they beat the Rangers at home 4-3 in overtime. Now the focus shifts to Anaheim as the Devils look for their 4th win in the last 5 games against the Anaheim Ducks. That one gets underway tomorrow night at 10. We'll wrap up here by giving you a look around the college basketball scoreboard. Seton Hall looks to pick up their 3rd straight win on Saturday, facing off against DePaul out in Chicago. That one gets underway at noon. Princeton also returns to the court on Saturday, heading north to take on Brown in search of its 4th straight win. The Tigers currently lead the Ivy League with a perfect 3-0 record in conference play. Monmouth hits the road to play Towson in search of their 1st win since December 4th. The Hawks are coming off a 77-57 loss to Hofstra on Wednesday night. And Rutgers, again, hosting Ohio State Sunday at 2:15, and that's going to be a game that could have implications in the Big Ten regular season title race. Ryder returns to the floor on Sunday at 3, heading across the Hudson to play conference-leading Iona at 1 p.m. The Broncs look to snap a 3-game losing streak. Well, that'll do it for us this week. I'm Chris Sakonis. We'll see you back here next time on Sports.
All right, guys. Yeah, go Big Blue. I'm so
Yes,
excited.
we'll be
As
watching.
a longtime Giants fan, I'm so excited. Thank you so much for watching us. I'm Cara DeFalco.
And I'm Kristina Behr. We'll see you back here next week.